Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. Are you guys excited? Do you know who's up next? No? Well, we have two monsters coming on stage next. They played yesterday. We gave them quite an intro, and I'd like to top that today if we could. Okay? Now, the first guy, the stakes are real in this match because one of these guys is going home, and they're two of the biggest draws, and they're two of the biggest pimps on planet Earth. But one of them is going home, and one of them is moving on, okay? So the first guy I'm gonna bring on the stage, he's from Korea. He's not just the most successful Brood War player of all time, he's arguably the most successful e-sport athlete of all time. They call him God. They call him the ultimate weapon. But we call him Flash, and here's how I want to bring him out. I'd really like to chant his name. Can we chant his name? All together, just Flash, 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 Flash. And his opponent, the highest earning StarCraft 2 pro of all time at nearly $500,000, multiple GSL champion, multiple Intel Extreme Masters champion, the Boss Toss himself, and I want to bring him out to just the craziest chant you've ever chanted in your life, but you don't really chant very often, so there's not much competition. But, are you guys ready? MC, MC, MC. It's a fighting kind of day here. Good luck, guys.
Oh my goodness, just when you think you've seen it all, MC tops it off again.
That guy, there's
Iron Man.
full of surprises.
Another nickname to add. I thought that was your dressing gown.
Wasn't he called Iron in StarCraft 1 or something? Like, I think, right?
Yes.
Yes, there you go, very apt.
Yes, Iron, I think he was called.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of the nonsense. It's time now
This is
for
a big
these two.
game.
It is a huge game right now. MC versus Flash. MC actually has the upper hand recently. He's won both the previous games they've played.
Yep.
And he lost the first two. So they're actually even right now in terms of matches. It's 2-2. It's 3-3 in terms of maps as well. So couldn't get any closer between these two. Ligulek can't really decide which way round, calls it a draw. How do we call this one?
I like to look at this as Flash's edge coming into it. I have to favor Flash. And the reason for that is MC is one of the trickiest StarCraft 2 players to play against. He's unpredictable. You cannot know what to expect from him. But Flash has already played against him a couple of times now. He played against him yesterday. He's got a feel for his play. He's got a feel for his strategies and his builds. And when you're playing against a tricky player, if you understand their tricks, then you naturally just take an advantage.
The only issue he's got, though, James, is that MC's bag of tricks is pretty deep.
Yeah, it is. I think he pulled out some of the best ones he possibly could, though, in that series. I think MC was probably looking at that was, well, you know, this is the game for me of the tournament so far. I've got to like bring out some good stuff here. And I think he was saying that his build in that first game was one of the best that he can bring out. So let's see how deep that bag really is.
Okay, and he's not going to play in that, is he?
I think it might get a little bit too hot.
Oh dear. But his boys in his the boys in his house have had a very good tournament.
Yes.
First into the quarterfinals, Yoda
Yes.
into the quarterfinals,
They're
MC on the
performing very well.
verge of the quarterfinals.
I mean, MC and Hyun both won the respectable WCSs at the same time,
Yep.
at the same weekend as well.
Yeah.
They're doing very, very well for themselves recently. But this is I can't wrap my head around that either Flash or MC has been eliminated at this point of the tournament, which isn't even the quarterfinals
No,
yet.
I mean, I saw a really good sign in the crowd. I don't know if we can see it right now. There was a Pult Cola sign out there. Did you see it?
I have not known.
That didn't go very well.
There it is.
There it
Look,
is.
winner's drink, Pult Cola. Stim 2.0. Now, the thing is, right, that's great, except Pult went out 2 days ago. Went out. I mean, how? How has this happened?
He's like, should I wear this? Should I not? No. Okay.
No, probably not.
Yeah, no, that's... Just going
left
on the floor.
That's mine.
Well, it's been dumped in the corner.
Excuse me, MC. Are you busy right now?
Yeah. Can I just have my jacket back? So, MC and Flash, one of them is going home. One of them goes to the quarterfinal. And even when they go to the quarterfinal, another tough game away. I mean, there were no easy games anyway. We said that yesterday because of the way that the groups were played. But they get significantly harder as they go along as well. So whoever goes through, who's better for Snoot? Let's look at it that way.
Well, I can answer because I know the correct answer. Snoot wants to play Flash.
Yeah, he does.
He said he's played a lot against MC. He can beat MC. He wants the challenge. He wants to play Flash. He wants to beat Flash on the stage in front of the Canadian audience. So, backstory there.
No, absolutely. Yeah, very interesting. MC, he comes in having had a great year, really. I mean, in any way you look at it, he's won a title finally after a couple of years. He's had lots of top fours, number 2 in WCS right now, so nothing wrong with his year. Flash, on the other hand, as we rightly talked about yesterday, 7% chance coming into this. Thank you to WCS Predictor, by the way, of getting to BlizzCon. That seems to have been the main story, but right now, he just needs to get through this game, otherwise that's it. His BlizzCon dream is pretty much over, regardless of Kesper and everything else ahead.
The thing is, Flash beats players heads up. He's the best in a normal, straight game. He's not playing that here, though.
Okay. Quick prediction, very quickly, from both of you. MC or Flash?
I have to go with Flash. I mean, I want to see MC do well, but I have to go with Flash.
Okay, James?
Got to go with Flash as well. I'll even go 2-0.
Fine. It's Flash all round here then at the analysis couch. Let's find out from our commentators who they predict will go through. It's going to be a fantastic game.
After the matches yesterday between MC and Flash, as much of a Terran player and Flash fanboy as I may be, calling it 2-0 is a pretty tall order for this one.
I think Flash can do it. One of MC's biggest strengths is his unpredictability, but playing him firsthand, I think Flash has gotten some of that extra information that he needs to be able to put together the defense that he needs to make this happen. MC, the most notable thing from yesterday was that he made 2 oracles, hid them, and then he made 5 void rays.
Yeah.
And
it's not normal.
It's not normal. Yes, I think that there's something wrong with MC. Based on
so you found a way to win the game that wasn't in the regular line of strategy, so that's what we call playing Protoss, right?
That's just MC playing smart. He knows how to exploit what his opponent is expecting, play against those expectations, and come out with something completely out of left field. And I think part of what happened with Flash is he was assuming too much that his opponent would play as expected, and that's clearly not the case.
Fitting greeting from our Protoss. Of course, our first player in the bottom position, the Red Terran, coming all the way from South Korea. Representing KT Rolster, he is Flash.
And the Protoss player in the top right-hand corner. If he takes this, maybe he'll be known as Iron Man. He is MC!
Crazy to think how much hype has been built up over both of these players, but I feel like we've seen a lot of MC competing in tournaments outside of Korea. We've seen a lot of MC this year, and it's been gone to show because he's number 2 WCS points overall. He is the most winning StarCraft 2 player as far as prize money goes. But Flash, a lot of people, when you kind of try to predict who could win this tournament, you said, well, MC, yeah, he beats up on a lot of non-Korean players. He doesn't have to play versus Kespa pros that often. But he came in yesterday, and like you said, he used some tactics that perhaps Flash is not normally practiced against, but he was able to defeat him. And I think it would be a monumental display of his skill if he could do it again.
Yep. And we do see Flash going for that early command center, obviously not expecting MC to go for early gateway aggression. And I think that is, in general, a pretty safe gamble from Flash. MC is known for being unpredictable. He's known for being very aggressive, but it's usually a little bit later in the game. It'll be like a Stargate and then a Nexus, or it'll be 2-base Blink, or it'll be 3 Oracles on 2-base. We don't very often see him go for something like a Proxy Gate in the middle of the map. Very unusual here, or even just a 10 Gateway. And that's going to give Flash that little bit of economic edge, because right now MC, well, actually no, MC is making a Zealot, but I'm pretty sure it was a 13 gate.
Yeah, we saw Flash, I think it was yesterday, when he went for the command center first build, immediately get a bunker, I think even before he started his orbital command. So he's willing to be a little bit greedy with the command center first play, but look at this SCV. He's not taking any chances. It's the very first thing he builds, aside from his Marine when the barracks finishes. His orbital commands are delayed by a little bit, but it's better than losing workers to his Zealot, right?
And his economy is going to be so much stronger that he can make a little sacrifice like that. The other interesting thing to note is Flash chooses not to scout until he started that bunker. And so some players will scout earlier, and then they can make the decision, do I actually need this bunker? Flash, by not scouting at all, he just puts down the bunker immediately. He's safe. MC actually canceled the Zealot that he was making, so he's just going to make this early Mothership Core. And both players are transitioning into a macro game, definitely with a slight edge for Flash, though, with his command center being so much earlier than MC's.
Yeah, and one of the unintended things that most people don't really consider when you get openings like Command Center first is having these two barracks still gives you, it's as early as they are, it's still a very fast production of Marines, even though you think it's you delayed them, but most builds you either build the Reaper, then a Reactor. He'll have enough Marines to hold off any Oracle play if it was coming his way. We know that it's not, but if Flash was concerned about having to deal with early pressure, early harass, especially from the skies, he would be safe with this build.
Yep, for sure. And the Mothership Core is now going to poke in here. MC kind of knows that there's not really a lot of opportunities for pressure with CC first, so he feels very comfortable moving in. One SCV is going to take a little bit of damage, but MC's got to be careful with this Mothership Core. If he loses it by getting too over-eager here, that would be a huge blunder. What he really wants to do, though, is confirm the number of Marines, and that's why this Mothership Core is going to go back in. He sees 6. He knows, okay, this is a double racks opening, and he already scouted that with his probes earlier, but he can just confirm, Flash, you didn't cut Marines, for example, and make a third command center, something like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because one of the last times I think I got to see Flash play in a Terran vs. Protoss, I think it was on like Nimbus, but he's not a player that is afraid to do that and go for the very fast third command center just off of 2 barracks. So MC, he does feel comfortable enough to take a third base, which I do find a little bit surprising. Command center first openings like this, when you don't get a third command center, can still hit as fast, if not around the same time, as the other plushers that he did off of the Reaper expands, for example, in yesterday's games.
Yeah, and this is actually a little bit scary for Flash, depending on how he interprets what he's seen. So there's no units, and he hasn't scouted the third Nexus, and he scouted no gases at the natural. And so what this could look like... Oh, gets away. What this could look like is a fast third, but it could also look very much like a 2-base play. And you can see Flash now is checking for that third base. He's going immediately up to the north. He wants to confirm 100% this is a third Nexus, not some kind of cheeky 2-base build.
Yeah, this is a really important scout for Flash, because at this point, what MC is committed, there's such a large distance between the natural and the third base that even though sentries are going to have a little bit of difficulty parsing this army if he wants to actually fight a force that would attack him, but Flash is just going to take a third command center as he starts his add-ons. And I'd be a little bit surprised if he just kept all his units at home. He really doesn't think that there's much of an opportunity here to put some pressure on.
Well, he didn't really build the units or make a transition that offers a huge opportunity for pressure, at least until Stim finishes. And now you can see Stim is about 50 seconds out. He can go secure the watchtower on the map. That'll keep his Marines pretty much safe from the Stalkers, and then push towards that area between the natural and third when Stim is finishing up. Give him some opportunities for aggression. The big kind of macro thing that's been going on is MC has not been super aggressive about chrono boosting his Nexuses this game, and you can see that's very apparent. He's only up 7 workers even though he's got 3 Nexuses.
Yeah, the Marines are on the left side trying to put a bit of pressure.
Oh, this probe scout is so important for MC. He's going to see the Marines. Now he'll be able to get in position. Without knowing the Marines are over there, Flash could easily have taken out a number of probes. You see MC actually puts down the preemptive photon overcharge at his third.
He's really concerned about the potential for Flash to just stim in from any one direction and either pick off his army or, as you'd said, those probes. But
and
you don't want to stretch yourself too thin here. That photon overcharge could come back to bite him if he has to overcharge his natural or the main base once the medevacs get out, which is that's what's happening right now.
And the observer is very well placed now, the probe in the top left, but Flash is actually using there's a medevac going into MC's main right now with just 2 Widow Mines, and this is really about MC. He has to pay attention to this medevac and also to the attack at the front. Is MC going to move his probes in time? 1, 2 Widow Mines, bro!
They're not
MC!
moving! Killing!
Oh,
my goodness.
wow!
Half the mineral line. 5 probes killed by 1 Widow Mine, 7 by the other. A fantastic pickup by Flash, who still has a lot of active units out on the map. There's no harassment tools for MC at this time. There's no Warp Prism, there's no Proxy Pylons, so there's no way for him to do anything back. He just has to take that and live with it, and it's going to slow him down as we move forward in this game.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of probes lost for barely any investment in Flash, and one of the main reasons that that play works so well is the observer in the center of the map for MC had eyes on Flash's army, and Flash was moving his army kind of threatening, and so that was where MC's focus was directed, and the Widow Mines kind of surprise him.
Yeah, really nice. He's continuing to scan the army. This gateway force, you know, head-to-head against this bio, it's not that great. It comes down to MC's force fields and his blinks now trying to push the army away. Some of these units in the back are still able to fire, and as nice as blinks are, Marauders absolutely wreck Stalkers in straight-up engagements, but with the number of gateways that MC has, warping in 7 units at a time, he's going to try to push this back. His first Colossus is very close, and with these Zealots, it seems like he's going to be just about barely able to hold this.
Yeah, and MC is doing a good job blinking his Stalkers here. He wants to keep as much alive as possible, and it looks like MC holds. He's going to be able to continue on in this game. Flash is forced to retreat. He's going to have to regroup. MC blinks forward, tries to pick off 1 or 2 more units here, and MC may actually try and convert this into an even more significant advantage. Flash has lost a lot of units.
Yeah, you know, that's just a really good display of control from MC. A lot of Protoss players would have died straight up to an attack like that. You start losing these Stalkers and everything gets bad, but MC's army is quite heavily bruised, which is only a sign that he did a good job of keeping those units from dying.
Yeah, and even though Flash did lose that fight, it's important to note that MC lost every single sentry he had. He lost every single Zealot. So his army right now is just Stalkers and Colossus. He's going to have a very hard time actually taking a head-on engagement against a large amount of bio without any force fields. Yeah. Until his Colossus count gets to 3, 4, 5 in that area, the bio can kind of ignore the Colossus fire, just run in because there's no force fields.
But Flash is already on double starport. He's cranking out a pretty heavy number of Vikings with every wave of production. Already 5 on the map versus 2 Colossi. By the time the 3rd Colossus comes out, he'll be pushing towards 9, 10. I do like this the setup for the army composition of Flash. Some Zealots wanted to harass, but his army is still very close, and I don't quite know. His observer can see where the edge of the Vikings are, so he could assume this is where the army is. He actually moves just a little bit closer to make sure he knows where Flash's army is positioned.
Yeah, MC's observers right now are very aggressively placed. As soon as Flash moves past, though, there's going to be a big dead area. Yeah, a couple Zealots there waiting for the run by.
And he starts some supply depots up in a bunker to try to cover this, but of course there's nothing here quite yet. The Zealots have not yet been sent in. MC wants to wait until Flash is about to commit a lot of attention to his attack so that he can't focus on defending. He sees the army.
Yep, he sees the Colossus. He knows that the transition to High Templar is still a bit of ways. 2 sentries warped in, a 2nd and 3rd Colossus were made. The Templar Archives just now finishing and Double Forge. It's interesting because I'm not sure if Flash is getting to the supply part of his timing, but he's very far away from the upgrade part of his timing. Often you'll see SCV pulls lined up with +2 weapons and maxing out. Flash is going to be maxed out for a long time if he waits until +2, so he's actually going to make this attack happen, and that's okay for him because MC's forges were so late, so it's going to be 1-1 bio up against just +1 armor Protoss army.
I like that position a lot because it just helps the Marines kill those Zealots. As a Protoss, you generally want to be a little bit ahead, especially on that armor upgrade. But like you said, with the Forge being late, it's tricky. Just 3 Colossi. The number of Vikings here is pretty damn good. He comes with the Vikings in the side. Stalkers blink over as the bio begins to kite these Zealots, and all the Colossi will fall pretty damn quickly, and honestly, without being able to hit any of the bio forces.
Yeah, the Colossus really didn't do any damage at all. He did a good job focusing down the Vikings with his Stalkers, but there were just so many Vikings. That command center first was able to give Flash such a good economic lead.
Yep. And a little bit of Zealot harass we just saw got cleaned up. Flash is going to load
here we go.
up. He's going for a flight into the main base of MC. There is nothing here to defend at all. The mothership core very far away, no photon overcharge, and he's just going to drop in, start picking off probes, looking maybe for gateways, and he's got his sights set on this Nexus.
The Nexus is going to fall. MC is going to try and recover whatever he can from here. One more gateway goes down, and MC's army is streaming in. Flash doing a little bit of micro ears, boosting now. He's going to pick up and get out of there. One medevac almost dies, but Flash makes it out with almost no losses at all.
And he's building 5 ghosts at a time. This Templar switch from MC is going to be very difficult to make work. He only has 2 Templar on the map. The 4 Mortals and the 2 Archons are nice, but EMPs, they kind of write those ones off the board.
Yeah, Flash did a very good job of reading MC's intentions in his army composition. He made enough Vikings in order to have that first fight go favorably for him. As soon as he resets the Colossus count, he doesn't make any more Vikings at all. He switches into that Ghost Tech.
Yeah, there are 13 ghosts already on the field. Flash hitting his transitions perfectly while simultaneously bringing all of that aggression. And I think 13 ghosts, you have enough EMPs for days on this army. The Templar move up, instantly EMP, turns into an Archon, and the rest of this army gets EMP'd as Flash attacks with the even upgrades. This army having a good time. Templar come from behind for MC. They'll get one nice storm. Second storm pushes him back even further. He's lost a lot of his ghosts, only 4 remaining, and another Colossus pops out.
And it looks like, is MC actually going to be able to hold that? MC is pushing Flash back. The Immortals doing so much damage to the Marauders. 1 or 2 storms coming from behind, and the Vikings fall. MC is holding on here. Flash with a lot of resources. I don't think he expected this game to even keep going. He's been up to about 1,500 resources. No 4th command center until just now. Flash definitely was expecting. He's like, I've got the army I need to kill you, and that's how it's going to be. And MC said no.
Yeah, Flash really underestimated just how much power those gateway units had, especially the Immortals hitting the Marauders up front. But those ghosts just died so quickly. And that flank storm, that was the play that saved him. I think without that, even as weak as the stimmed bio units are, they just have way too much damage output to stop.
Yep. And the Marauders, when they get low, the Immortals just annihilate them. EMPs on the Immortals probably, besides High Templar, one of the most important targets that you can hit. A little bit of a drop here. MC looks prepared, though, and Flash is going to just back off, not take a risk there. And it looks like we're going to go into a macro game. Neither player is really in a position to attack the other for now.
Yeah, just little bits of harass here and there as we saw the attempted medevac drop. A few Zealots headed towards the left side. And Flash, he's trying to get that balancing game going right, because his army has to be based off of what he scouts in MCs. Right. If there's a lot more Templar being warped in, he needs more Ghosts. But he built a couple of Vikings. We can see that there's double Colossus production going on right now, and just 4 Vikings against 4 Colossi doesn't really cut it, QXC.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to have any sort of favorable engagement unless MC makes a pretty big blunder. Flash's +3 weapons is ahead of MC's +3 armor, but because he doesn't have the right units, it's unlikely he'll really make an attack happen at this moment. He's more just playing, both players are just playing to secure more parts of the map. With the addition of that 4th base, both players have so much more area to cover and protect, and you can see them spreading out their units. MC's army, the little bit of Zealots and High Templar in his main, will probably be there for almost the entire game now, because it's such a long distance from his 4th to his main.
Yeah, he has a really nice defensive setup. And Flash, you know, the Terran player, you're usually the one that wants to get a bit aggressive. If you let the Protoss sit back too long, they're going to throw up all these cannons. Eventually we'll see cannons towards the center of the map, and that makes that cloak almost useless, and that's really one of the biggest playmakers. The Observer sees the army, Templar moves up, gets a feedback.
Yep, that High Templar didn't have a lot of energy, though. Observer goes down. That's going to put MC in the dark and make it a lot harder for him to figure out exactly where Flash is maneuvering.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep my eyes on where the Observers of MC are. He's bringing one back over towards the army. He only has one on the map right now. We see a nuclear missile in production for Flash. Potentially going to use this to bust down that line of cannons so that his ghosts can be a little bit more useful.
The nuke is a great low supply investment as a way to harass your opponent, especially at this phase in the game. The money is less of an issue as the supply. And the ghost, 1 ghost being cloaked, 2 supply, and you can potentially destroy an entire mineral line. Very, very intelligent move from Flash here. And both players jockeying for the center of the map now. MC, I kind of get the feeling he's actually trading out Zealots. This harass isn't really trying to do a lot of damage. It's more just he wants to have the supply be a little bit better, and now he's going to force some kind of engagement here.
I like this position. The Observer not here to see this Ghost. I'm not sure where it is. So at the very least, he delays a bit of mining. He can't kill this base. Not with just one nuke. Single probe and a pylon will die. I like to see these kinds of plays closer to the cannons because that lets the Cloak Ghost move forward, but he just wants to just mess with MC, and if MC slips up for even a second, that nuke can, you know, as you said, completely clear out all the mining.
And part of the power of the nuke is establishing control, but MC's actually lost track of Flash's army. Flash is going to move in here. High Templar do not have enough energy. Flash is forced to evacuate this base.
The Viking position is so good, hitting everything from above. The Cloak Ghost throwing EMPs down. Stalkers are going to blink over, but there's so many Vikings here with the rest of the army coming in. MC just can't take this battle. Ghost continuing to step forward. No storms. Archons and Immortals exposed. Flash takes a massive supply lead, slaughtering MC's standing forces and his fourth base.
Yeah, MC has now reset his entire Colossus count. He's remaking 2 at a time, but without that fourth base, his ability to reproduce is going to be so much weaker than Flash's, and Flash barely lost any units at all. Just a huge misstep from MC, and that had all to do with Flash taking control of the Watchtower and eliminating those observers. He just kept maneuvering back and forth, scanning on top of MC's army until he found an opening where MC just lost track of what was going on.
And now Flash has got enough income to really just crank out the Vikings and the Ghosts, the most important units that you're going to have in this stage of the game, because those Ghosts will also shred the high Zealot count that MC's moving for too. It's got 29 Zealots, 9 High Templar, and 2 Colossi. A powerful army, sure, but Flash has enough money and from all the cost-effective trades he's taken, enough of a bank to deal with this, I think, in a pretty effective manner.
Yep, and he's heading up to 5 bases here. MC actually using his Zealots in the middle of the map, going to try and establish control of that Watchtower. The Watchtower is pretty much the most important point on this map. And MC's actually moving in here. No, he's not. He's
gotta
just
be careful.
Yeah, he's got to be so careful.
Ooh, walking into a couple storms is Flash. He had his eyes set on that Observer, I think, with all the number of Cloak Ghosts he has. But without the storms now, these Colossi are exposed. They're going to get picked off. Everything dying at these Cloak Ghosts. They don't really care about Zealots.
Yeah, the Cloak Ghosts are just going to be completely immune to the Zealots. Meanwhile, on the right side, some Zealots attacking the Planetary. Another Colossus walks into the Vikings, and Flash is moving up that Planetary. Maybe all the SCVs will die, but that Planetary is going to stay up. Cloak Ghost moving in. MC does not have an army to answer this.
No, he does not. All the Templar kill at this left side base. 42 probes mining off one Nexus. He really needed that money at QXE, and he is not going to get it. GG. Flash takes game number 1 over MC. That was some damn good play, QXE.
Yeah, very well played from both people. I want to say play and players, but I don't like that. The using the same word twice. Really nice end game from Flash. Just knew how he was very patient. A lot of players, they kind of get to the end game and they get scared of it. They feel nervous. They're like, well, how do I deal with the High Templar? How do I deal with the Colossus together? And Flash just kept maneuvering back and forth, killing observers, making the right units, and as soon as he saw MC was out of position, he jumped on it. He didn't wait any longer than he had to.
Yeah, it was really great opportunity taking, especially up on that fourth base when he was able to get that position on the Vikings. You said it. That late game scenario where you're forced to use your Vikings and your Ghosts and you have to control them perfectly. That's one of the most difficult moves to execute, I think. At least for me as a Terran player, I don't find things much harder than playing versus late game Protoss when they have Storm and Colossus. But I have to say, Flash made it look really, really good.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing about Flash's play is he never tried to fight that army head to head. He always had some advantage in terms of either position or information. MC was always kind of reacting to what Flash was doing. He was always making more observers. He had 2 robo-bays, making a ton of observers, and Flash just kept scanning. He knew that removing MC's eyes was more important than having a little bit more money in his pocket.
Yeah, I think It's really underestimated sometimes in the Terran vs. Protoss matchup, the effect of getting rid of those observers, making the Protoss a little bit more worried about where those medevacs are, too.
Yep.
After that big first fight, Flash getting into the main base, sniping the Nexus, and a good number of units as well. Things we definitely can't say too much about.
And the next map is going to be Overgrowth. I'm a little surprised at MC's choice of build, but not too much. So when you're known for being very aggressive, and you do it so much that your opponents feel comfortable kind of countering that style, they're expecting that style, what MC did, where he just opens like a very safe, natural way, can be more unexpected and more dangerous than anything they've done before. Flash dealt with it, of course, in great form. All right, guys, and we're on Overgrowth. He's currently up 1-0. Give a big cheer for Flash!
A lot of people excited to see these two going head-to-head. His opponent in the bottom left needs 2 wins to stay alive in this tournament. In blue, the Protoss, he is MC!
I got so excited talking about the last game, and the crowd is like, all right, QXC, shut up, we're clapping. It's time to start
We're ready
this
to
game.
start the next game. Can't get enough Flash.
And Supply Depot at the top of the ramp, MC Pylon in his base, Chrono Boost immediately, so no early gateway, no early proxies from either player. And Overgrowth is probably the most standard map we have right now.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know how many people say it's their favorite, but I like the statistic that we got earlier. I think it's the least vetoed map.
Yeah.
Almost no one will ever veto it. Maybe they don't like certain styles on it, but it's not bad enough to be like, I can't handle this map.
I don't think there's ever been a season where everybody said, this is my favorite map. But every season of maps, there's almost always a map that everyone says, this is not my least favorite map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Overgrowth fits in there quite nicely.
Yeah, I do too.
Flash, his opening looks like he's going to be set up pretty well to go with a Reaper. MC, this is a smaller map, 2 players. He knows where Flash is spawned. He will still probe scout. You think he was maybe looking for a chance to harass an SCV if it was Command Center first again?
Maybe. The probe scout is a little bit early here. He could probably have scouted about 10 to 15 seconds later, and he still would have gotten in, even against an early Marine opening. He's... Perhaps this is more as the potential for a proxy, or maybe just MC scouts this early. And
Do you think MC gets nervous at all playing versus Flash?
does MC get nervous? Question mark.
Fair point. His hands were shaking pretty badly at the end of the first game that they played yesterday when he had that 1-0 lead, but being down when you're in an elimination match, the loser of this series is out. It's really, I think this is a bit more of a stressful position because either player that lost yesterday has another chance. And of course, we're seeing that because they have a rematch. But MC taking 2 games in a row off Flash now will definitely be a monumental feat to accomplish if he could do it.
MC plays a kind of an interesting opening. He saves about 50 to 60 chrono boosts, and he builds that Zealot up until the very last moment. And it kind of looks like he's going to make that Zealot, then chrono boost out a Mothership Core and a Stalker. And then he just doesn't. He just makes the Nexus, and his probe count is a little bit lower than if he had used those chrono boosts on the Nexus.
Yeah.
But
We've seen this probe get tucked away before, and I want to ask you about with the chrono boost. Is there something that MC can scout that you think would make him use that chrono boost, finish the Zealot, and go for that early gateway pressure?
I don't think so. I think it's either a mind game or it's just he feels like he already has enough probes that early, so he doesn't need to use the chrono boost. I'm unfortunately not sure here. We'd probably have to ask MC himself. But the probe is still tucked away. Second gas is relatively early, but there's no pylon down there.
Yeah,
And the third pylon is already down in MC's... Wait, where's the third pylon? Yeah, the third pylon's already down. He's going for a robo, so... Right now, it looks very normal from MC, and he doesn't really have any idea how Flash is transitioning. Meanwhile, Flash, of course, going for 2 racks and an early engineering bay. This usually transitions into a pretty heavy 2-base build where you're going to be going up to 5 barracks and starting +2 weapons, sometimes even before that 3rd command center, and it allows you to hit a very early, very scary +2 timing.
Yeah, I like this build a lot. Flash is, I think, one of the very first Terran players that I got to see using this. He's one of the guys that busted it out earliest, at least this year, when we saw him break it out in Pro League, I believe, against Rain. And it's cool because Flash is one of those guys that actually took a lot of damage from Oracle openings and when Heart of the Swarm came out. And this build gives you that natural counter to it if you need it.
Yep.
But MC, we've seen Immortal on the production tab, QXC. This is usually not most Protoss players' first unit of choice out of a robotics facility.
There's really only one way that players will go after making an Immortal this early, is actually making it before even an Observer, and that is almost always into some kind of big gateway pressure. The thing is that MC actually hasn't started any additional gateways yet.
Yeah, doesn't quite have the production you would expect with this. He has his warp gate done now.
Yep.
That Immortal is ready. He's building a second one, and he's warping in sentries.
It has to be an aggressive build, but how do you do an aggressive build with one gateway?
I'm very curious to find this out myself.
I'm hoping. Okay, so two gateways.
More. Still a little. I feel like the production is going to be a little bit late unless he wants to line this up with like 4 Immortals.
Four
Okay, 3
gateways. All right.
Okay. So
there's going to be a third Immortal. There's no way. Yeah,
third
he's
Immortal,
got
or
to
like a
go
War
with
Prism, maybe. No.
No, third Immortal.
Okay.
Yep. The fourth unit might be a Warp Prism, but the third definitely need at least 3 Immortals because he's hitting such a late timing. Meanwhile, Flash is just transitioning as normal. One interesting thing is Flash is not scanned, so he has no idea this is coming. And now we're seeing 2 additional gateways here, going up to 6 gateways, and he's actually going to make an Observer after the third Immortal. So it's time to start getting out on the map. The probe, 2 probes are kind of out here. One's going to put down an aggressive pylon. The second probe, I guess, is just gonna get some information.
So normally you need a lot of bunkers to hold pushes like this, QXC. How much do you think the +1 attack helps with Flash? I think the stem is going to be really important if he pulls SCVs early.
Yeah, the stem is probably more important than the +1 attack, but those two together, I think medevacs are really going to make the bigger difference here, being able to get out of those force fields. But MC is just going to have so many units here. 6 gateways, and he started to warp in at this right side pylon, but he's moving to a place that he doesn't have a pylon.
This Flash is going for, I would almost say standard Flash pressure. Okay, he sees another probe. This has got to trigger something in his head. He's kind of being antsy here. He could get force
these units
fielded.
going to get trapped here?
Oh, he can actually have a full surround if he tried to pull his workers against his SCVs do get pulled. Marines are coming in, but Stalkers and Zealots warped in from the back, making things quite difficult. All 3 Immortals still alive with full shields. Mothership Core does get killed, and Flash realizes he needs to get the hell out of Dodge, lifting up back into his main base. Keep in mind, MC's on 2 bases. This is a really nice economic position for MC if Flash doesn't somehow find a way to get down this ramp fast.
Well, so Flash can kind of decide to either go for the counterattack as something we saw Tasia do. He was in a similar situation. He just picked up everything he had, went for the base trade, but MC's actually going to try and move up the ramp here. Not sure if this is going to work for him. A lot of SCVs in the front going down, but the bio in the back is doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's important to keep in mind this army for Flash, once it gets to an even amount of army supply, is superior. He immediately loads up 1 Widowmine and a medevac. He sends it out. It shouldn't pass by anything that MC has to spot it, so MC's going to move his army away from that ramp. Flash, of course, is worried about being force fielded in half if he tries to step down.
Yep.
But now he's realized, okay, army stepping away, got to take my natural back. I'd say this attack was pretty effective for MC as long as he can hold the counter drop pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of counter opportunities here for Flash. He's already started his +2 weapons. He hasn't added his 4th and 5th barracks, but he has started his +2 weapons, and that's going to open up a lot of opportunities coming. Oh, one Widowmine burrows. MC does see it this time. One Zealot's going to sacrifice himself. Goodbye. We missed you. And that's the cost of being in MC's army. Sometimes you get sacrificed.
Well, he saves the Widowmine too, so that Zealot not really helping too much. He was able to get his probes back to mining, of course.
And
but that +2 attack, man, the first forge is only just about to finish for MC. He's got a massive upgrade lead.
Yeah, I think MC may actually add a second forge here. That is exactly what he's doing. At some point, he must have recognized the opening.
And Flash's macro. He's catching up in supply pretty quickly. He was down like 40 supply earlier. His army's already getting very close to that size. And we know how cost-effective stemmed bio is. But with an upgrade advantage, The MC's really relying on these Immortals to anchor his defense with that Photon Overcharge if Flash were to commit to a big push.
Yeah, he's basically going to use a large amount of Blink Stalkers in his main to keep the Medivacs from unloading, while the Sentries plus Immortals plus Photon Overcharge hold the natural until he gets some units with splash damage. Meanwhile, we've got this Warp Prism in the top. If Flash tries to move out, as he's doing, MC's got really good counterattack opportunities. He can distract Flash and get some damage done in his base.
Yeah, I like how he's been trying to dip in and out with these Widow Mines. Zealots now being dropped in the natural of Flash. MC finds a good opportunity. A lot of these units are away. One Medivac's worth will be able to run back, but then the Warp Prism's like, okay, peace.
Yep. And the big thing for MC right now is his biggest disadvantage is his tech.
Yes.
His economy was okay coming out of that. Obviously, Flash is kind of catching up in that regard. They're both getting very close to 2-base saturation. The main is starting to mine out a little bit. The upgrades, very much in favor of Flash. And so using that Warp Prism, he can keep Flash at home and protect himself in this moment of weakness.
Yeah, Flash scans and sees those two forges, recognizing, okay, MC's going to try to power up a little bit. Of course, we know he has the Twilight Council with the Blink. So the Colossus transition, I don't think is necessarily bad, but without that third base, Flash should have an opportunity to continue to be aggressive and, dare I say, make a really large attack at the third when it does start.
Yeah, well, Flash, the thing is, since Flash also doesn't have a third, there's not as much of an economic pressure on MC to get his own third. The economies are pretty okay at this moment, especially with the damage that MC did earlier. Does MC know this attack is coming?
I'm not sure.
He sees the Medivacs now.
He's got
Flash
that
is going to
+2.
go for it. He's moving in.
First couple force fields locking a part of this army, and there are holes for other units to step through. Picks up the front line, stepping back. Those Widow Mines also taking a lot of heat onto these Zealots. But with the Immortal support, the Marauders having a tough time. The Stalkers blink on top of this. MC believes he can take this fight.
Yep.
He loses his Colossus. A lot of these Stalkers are actually still dying. Flash's forces have not been routed just yet.
MC is so confident that he can take that fight, blinking on top of the army, but Flash just has too much. His reinforcements have just arrived to the fight. Both Immortals go down. Flash is pushing into MC's natural right now. MC has to blink as best he can, continuing to warp in units. One Colossus comes down. Thermal Lance is going to finish just now. Can MC use that to hold this push off?
He has that Warp Prism back in the natural of
Another
Flash.
big blink forward.
And these Marauders, there's so many Marauders with no Zealots. These guys with that +2 attack lay waste to these armored forces. Flash steps forward, snipes the last Colossus, dropping the mules on MC's base, saying, get out of here. This is our town, scrub.
And it looks like MC is going to do what little defense he can now, but this game is Flash's. Flash is going to move on, and MC is going to get out. Continuing to blink forward, using the probes now actually to tank, but the upgrade advantage for Flash is making his units so resilient, so easily able to kill, and Flash takes it 2-0 and moves on to the next round of this tournament.
A fantastically played series by Flash. Give it up. Oh man, talk about a tough spot to be in, pushed back onto your main base in the earliest phase when you're most vulnerable as a Terran against these types of pressures, and then ricocheting straight back once his stim finished, once he got the Medivacs out, and never losing his cool.
Yep. And MC in the first game, I think he was trying to meta his, like, the expectations of his opponent. He thought that Flash maybe would play extra safe or even go for some counter aggression. And Flash just doesn't seem to care at all. Just CC first, doesn't even matter. And then in that second game, 2-Rax eBay is not a safe build. You just don't have a lot of units early on. Even though you have that early eBay for the turrets, you only have 2-Rax production. You often can't really afford Marauders, and so you're very vulnerable to like a very fast 4 or 5 gate, a very fast blink, blink pressure, all these different things that MC is known to do, and Flash just does it anyway, makes it work.
Yeah, just staying cool worked very well from, of course, MC. Had a pretty good run, but Flash is, I think, a lot of people's favorites for this tournament, and definitely showed. Oh man, his late game control was great. His early game defense was phenomenal, and I think a lot of us are excited to see Flash move on to the quarterfinals, where I believe he'll be playing against Snoot. Snoot is going to get the match that he wanted.
Yep. And Snoot was kind of I think he's been sitting in the back there somewhere, maybe watching this, hoping, wishing that Flash would win this.
All right, well, you know what? Let's not delay any further. Let's hear some words from the man himself.
The sign says Summer of Tasia, Decade of God. I wonder what he makes of that. Congratulations, Flash. Fantastic game. It's great to have you here on the couch as well. I should say we only have winners on the couch. And right now you seem to be winning everything. Why? What's changed for you?
자, 이제 여기 이제 윤영서 선수의 별명이 이제 Summer of 태자, 여름의 태자인 거 알고 계시죠? 여기 이제 온들 팬들 팬말이나 이런 거 보니까 Decade of God. 진짜 신의 시간이 왔다 하는데 여기 승자의 인터뷰 오신 거 축하합니다. 소감 한 말씀 들어볼게요.
예, 일단 이겨서 기쁘고요. 예. 저번에 IEM 왔을 때는 16강에 떨어져서 이번에도 16강에 떨어질까 걱정했는데 예, 이겨서 기쁘고 8강, 4강 잘해서 한번 결승까지 노려보도록 하겠습니다.
First of all, I'm very glad that I was able to make it through my group stage. Last IEM, I was round of 16. And it kind of felt like every StarCraft 2 tournament I go to, I end up in round of 16. And I was afraid I might just end this tournament in round of 16, but I'm really glad. Now that, you know, I've advanced through, I want to make it all the way to the top.
Okay. Yeah, you've had a fantastic season in Pro League. Been absolutely brilliant all season. Done great in the GSL as well recently, and now here at Intel Extreme Masters. What is different for you as a player this year compared to last year?
작년에 비해서 올해 프로리그랑 여러 가지로 이제 성적이 다 두루두루 나아진 것 같은데 어떤 뭐 심적인 변화가 있었든지 뭐가 변해서 올해는 이렇게 좋은 성적을 내고 있는 것 같습니까?
아무래도 심적으로도 많이 편안해졌고 연습량이 좀 저번 시즌보다는 더 많이 하는 것 같아요. 그래서 좀 자신감이 연습돼 있다 보니까 대회에서 좀 잘 나타나는 것 같아요.
Yes, there has been some sort of a mental change throughout the course of my career, especially last year into transitioning into this year. I've vamped up my practice hours and not just the hours, but the strategy itself as well. And I think it's catching up, and now it's showing what I'm made of.
Okay. We saw you at the Pro League finals kicking the football into the crowd with all the players' names on. Presumably when you beat MC, we should have had a football for you, should we?
자, 프로리그 결승전에도 이제 오이사 선수 이름 보여주고 공을 뻥 날리셨는데 이번에도 축구 하나 준비할 걸 그랬네요.
준비했으면 좋았을 텐데 저한테 좀 도발을 하셔가지고 제가 그걸 봤어요. 그래서
언제 도발?
장민철 선수가 제가 한국 예선 뚫었을 때 제가 잘해서 이긴 게 아니라 양희지 선수가 못해서 이겼다고 해서 좀 벼르고 있었는데 일단 오늘 이기고 올라가서 기뻐요.
First of all, why didn't you? If you knew what I've done in Pro League ceremony. And secondly, I was waiting for this moment. I was waiting for this matchup because what MC said after I made it through my Korean qualifiers, because I quote, he said, Flash didn't advance through the Korean qualifiers, not because he was great, not because he was known as God, but because Pig Baby mucked up. So I'm happy that I got the revenge of him.
You absolutely did get the revenge. That was going to be my next question, but you took it away because, well, you're God. And that's how it works.
God knows everything, right?
Yep, absolutely. So he has advanced. Congratulations, Flash. It's great to see you back on form. KT Rolster have not just one, but two players through to the quarterfinals as well. And we'll begin the quarterfinals next. Don't go far away.